I forgot to mention the tag on page 7. You would match your large tag and it slides inside the side pocket. So now we're going to do page 8. Page 8 has a long, narrow flap that folds open, and you can do some journaling here. There's another flap. It's a type of folio. All the pages open up, and you've got lots of room for photos on here. Let's get started on that one. So this is my page 8. I'm going to start by making my little folio, my flap album. And I'll grab a piece of white paper so you can see what I'm doing. What I did on these flat pieces, they're the ones that fold up, I went ahead and punched a little decorative border on the edge. You don't need to do this, but I thought I'd do something a little bit different on this one. And the way these work, it's very simple. The hinge will go underneath your base piece, which is this plain square piece. And you do that all around, like that. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I forgot to add my tape. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put one strip of tape on this because the whole thing is going to be taped down to my album. So it's going to be strong enough. I'll show you what I mean. So I take my center piece, and it's easier if I just align it like that. There's my little decorative edge. And I can remove the tape and just fold it over. So there's the first one. And we'll do the same thing with the one at the opposite end. And then the side. Now you would mat all of your sides, okay, except for the bottom part, because that's the part that's going to be stuck down to your album. Okay. That's why I don't need a whole lot of tape on my hinge, because the whole thing is going to be taped down anyways. So now I close my side panels. I'm going to apply my magnets to the top panel, and it's going to fold down over the bottom, like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. to use my new trick. Geez, I don't know what's wrong with this tape. I didn't have that many problems in the past. Okay. Now I'm ready to attach to the top of my page. Now this is my bottom piece, and I'm going to want, this folds down, I'm going to want to make sure I have enough room for this piece when I attach my top piece. Okay. So that's going to go about like that. Now, the only thing I have left to do on this page is I'm going to mat the inside. This is for journaling, so you might want to use a light colored paper, and then you can put a nice decorative paper on the front. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to apply my tape to the bottom part here. Oh, I almost forgot. I have to attach my magnets before matting this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my magnets right now. See if I can get this done before I run out of time. Close that. Line it up. And we're done. I'm still going to have to mat my pieces, but the page is constructed, and I can now move on to pages 9 and 10. This is page 9 of the album. It's a large flap that opens up, and there's a pocket with 2 tags inside. get started on page 9. Here's my main page, my base page. There are no flaps to attach at the top or the bottom, so I can go ahead and assemble my page, which I did. So I've got page 7, page 9 and page 10. So I'm working on page 9. I'm going to start with the flap. I've scored my flap at the 1/2 inch mark, added my 2-sided tape, and I punched my decorative border on the edge. This is going to be inserted with the tape side up in the side pocket. Now I made this flap a little bit smaller than the vertical height, so I don't need to trim my corners on here because it's easy to insert. If you wanted to make your flap the full length, then you could just trim your corners. So let's insert that in there. Make sure it's centered. This page is actually pretty quick to make. So there's my flap attached. Then I open up the flap and I'm going to make my pocket. Now if you wanted to, you could do a decorative edge there if you wanted. This pocket is going to sit on the left hand side of my page, and I think I'll just put it close to the edge. I've got my 2-sided tape on there, and I've scored my seams. If you were using the black cardstock, you would mat your cardstock first before applying your pocket. But because this is pre-printed, I don't have to worry about matting the base page. So I'm going to attach my pocket, making sure I've got the tape on the left side. It's easier if I work like this. Actually, I think I'll just push it out a little bit, like that, so I get that little border on the outside here. You can do it whichever way you prefer. Sometimes I like it flush against the edge. Other times I like leaving a little bit of color showing through. Oh, I forgot to say, you would go ahead and mat both sides of your flap. Okay. This is a large flap, so if you have a nice sheet of paper with a design on it, it will look really nice on there. And you still have room to put a picture. Okay. Then I would mat my pocket. And I rounded the corners on my tags, and I matted my tags already, so it can just go in there. I'm going to mat my pocket and my flap later. Then my large tag, I rounded the bottom corners, and I punched a decorative border on the edge, and that's going to slide in here, and that's it for page 9. That was a quick one. Well, here we are, guys, on the last page, page 10. Page 10 has a little flap. There's a pocket at the bottom of the flap with 2 tags in it. You open up the flap. This page here is just left for a large photo. And then when you open this, there's another flap. So you've got room for 3 photos on this page, and then again on the front. So let's get started with page 10. my base page. Because this is such a large piece that's not going to have anything on top other than a photo that you could put, I took a design with a nice little bird on it, so I'm taking advantage of having the space to show off some of my paper. So this is the flap portion. It's going to attach here. Inside my album. So we've got the other flap is on the other side. This flap is on this side. So that's going to open like that. I'll start by removing my tape. Make sure it's centered vertically. Yeah, so the flap is attached. So now what I would do is mat all the sides of my flap. I'm not going to have time to mat everything, but I am going to mat the front because I'm going to attach my pocket to the bottom. So I'm going to mat this now. Paper that didn't have anything on the bottom because it's going to be covered by my pocket. But I liked the blue part at the top. There we go. Now I'm going to attach my pocket. I've got my seams folded and my two-sided tape, and this is going to line up perfectly flush from end to end. There we go. And I would mat my pocket here. Maybe with a little piece of light colored paper that I could journal on. And I went ahead and rounded the edges on my two tags, and these would slide in here. Again, if you want, you can make your pocket a little bit wider. The inside here, like I said, is just plain, but if you wanted to, you could add a pocket down here. Or you could add, you know, just pictures and let some of your design paper show through. So that's it for page 10, and guess what? We're done with all the inside pages. I started off thinking I would just do pages 1 and 2, but I enjoy doing this so much I figured I may as well continue and do the whole album on video. Don't get discouraged. This takes a long time to do. It's not an album that you can finish in one day. And sometimes what I do is I'll pace myself. I'll just do 2 pages, one of these, in one day. And that way, if you do 5 pages a week, and then your cover and your binding, which I'll be covering next, you can finish your album in a week without rushing through the whole thing. Sometimes I sit down and try to do it the whole from start to finish, and it takes me a good 4 or 5 days to complete the whole album. Now that your pages are finished, we're going to work on the covers next, and then we're going to do the binding, attach the pages in the album. I usually like waiting until my pages are all attached in the album to go over and do all of the embellishing part where I add little flowers and beads and that sort of thing. That way nothing gets in the way while I'm working on attaching the pages to my binding. So that's what we'll be doing next.